I had, from when I was a child, unusual experiences, and then it became very, very dramatic when I had my first child. The experiences I'd been having got more and more intense, and I felt as though I was living with one foot in each reality. There was here and everyday reality, and then there was what was going on in my body and my psyche and my mind and these experiences that I didn't consider to be normal. Until one day I couldn't anymore hold on to this reality. And Stan, who had begun his career as a young psychiatrist, researching in the early 50s, researching LSD, knew about non-ordinary states. And he saw what I was going through and said to me, you're not crazy. What you're going through is some sort of transformation process. I'll be here to support you. When I looked inside, I didn't find God. I found shame and fear and guilt and anger, a lot to do with having been a sexual abuse survivor as a kid. There were all of these emotions kind of keeping me from really being able to tap the true wholeness that this process was leading me toward. And there are blockages in the body that it seems as though the energy hitting up against those blockages. And then what I'm experiencing in these visions I'm having is material that's being released from that. Sad part of the story is that Stan and I were traveling a lot as these experiences were going on, and I began to use alcohol as a tranquilizer, and spent about 7 or 8 years becoming a very sick alcoholic, and a lot of that was about trying to hold down these experiences. When I hit bottom, when there was that final surrender, that being surrendered by a process of being an addict, it was much larger than who I thought I was. Then somehow the process of this Kundalini awakening became much smoother, and I was able to return to everyday life. What that was about, I think it was the surrender. I had tried so many times over the years when I'd have visions, or when my body would be shaking, or when I'd suddenly be somewhere else, that I had tried to say, okay, I surrender. I surrendered to the energies. I surrendered to the experiences. But it was me doing it. And what I discovered was, what I think now happened, was that the alcoholism flattened me. The fact that I had to admit that I was something that I hated. I hated it growing up. It was around me growing up, and I never wanted to be around people like that. And I had to surrender. It surrendered me. I was so sad when I saw those clips of Adam. That didn't have to happen. He didn't have to have all those medications, I believe. I don't know him, but he didn't have to have all those labels. For me, as much as I had support in my process as a spiritual transformation, Stan and I came up with the term spiritual emergency. He didn't have anyone to tell him that, but there was always a part of me that even if I knew that this was a spiritual transformation, that thought I was crazy. My dream is to see a whole network of centers where people can go and be supported without labels, without medications, unless absolutely necessary, to be supported and loved and cared for during the most difficult parts of their transformation crisis.